Hey friends, thanks for coming again. Today we're going to talk about Japanese banks and how they connect to Ripple. Along with those links to Ripple, we'll also talk about Citibank. I have a great video here that covers everything, so please stay with me through the whole thing. To be honest, this site does have some really good information. Look at this then. Smoke, I've also tried to get your mind around the fact that you know the original internet was all about voice and data. This is the cost. You have a good idea of how big the market for values was in the first 25 or so years of the internet, when it was mostly just video, talk, and data. Actually, it's interesting that we're even talking about this because the institutional conference I was watching the other day was talking about exactly this topic and how they choose to invest in blockchain unicorns. What's their goal and reasoning behind investing in unicorns like Ripple and other companies like it? They specifically mentioned Ripple. I still think about the only difference he made, which is that Microsoft, Apple, and Amazon offer streaming services for entertainment material that have nothing to do with money. You know that a path. They take care of things at the side, but they're not banks. They may not be very focused on improving the price mechanism or on increasing the number of price changes. They only care about improving how their carrier accepts customers and keeps them coming back. There are, however, companies like Ripple and Stella that focus on more important and serious use cases, such as bills like moving fees and tokenization. If you look at the market caps of the world's most important companies, like Microsoft at $3 trillion or Apple at $2 trillion, that number seems pretty small. There are no more important groups in the world than those. We don't know of any other company that is worth more than those three. And companies like Stella and Ripple are working to solve a problem that is bigger than what the market has thought it was. Yes, what do you think about the value of a company that focuses on use cases like bills and value instead of content video offerings? The size is already bigger than the most prestigious companies today. What kind of person wouldn't have loved to invest in Apple, Amazon, or Microsoft before the market realized how powerful they really were? That's what we're talking about here. Okay, you understand this as you look at these virtual homes. We are going to use some of these digital things like Ripple, Stella, Algorand, these. This is the new system for handling money. It is the new building blocks for the economy. And for the first time in your life, you'll own a piece of that financial infrastructure that banks and other financial institutions will start to use. The only reason this hasn't happened yet is because of the Basel I framework. Banks need the tools to say, this cryptocurrency isn't that you see. Every cryptocurrency is going to have a unique asset beauty, depending on what asset class that cryptocurrency is in. The bank may or may not be able to hold that. It also needs to keep coins on hand to back up that cryptocurrency. But believe it or not, your bank is going to start giving you crypto control in the next few years. I think that's where this is going because they want to make money. Okay, think about the boxes that banks use to store your security deposits. Okay. So they let you know it's not a lot of money. I think I pay about $85 or $100 for my field right now. You already know that they charge 1% or 2% to keep your crypto safe, but think about how much they charge you. Based on what I know, that's what they're going to do. And what I know is right. I don't need anyone else to tell me that banks want money. They need money. They've seen how strong these things are and are now going after them. The biggest business in the world when it comes to liquidity is Citibank ISO 20022. Our exporter payments partnership needs to cross-border liquidity XRP. This woman is in charge of Citibank's digital wealth. Let me play this. That means Ripple isn't always connected to the liability group. I've studied and gone through it. It doesn't connect them. She then switched to talking about moving tokenized assets, though. Okay, you did pay attention, right? The city works with Medeco to improve the ways that institutions can store virtual assets. This message was sent back in 2022, and I know they've had some problems and arguments since then, but I think they're finally on the same page. Citi knows how strong Medeco's generation is, and if they want to start moving tokenized costs of the rate of mile, they might talk to Ripple and Medeco. Also, 91% of institutional buyers put money into layer 1 blockchain protocols, but the CEO of Securitize says they don't know. Anyone who uses a private blockchain when they can't use a public one, the Ripple XRP ledger has positioned itself as a public chain with some of the fastest speeds, lowest energy use, and lowest carbon emissions. It's also important to keep in mind that there are private ledgers for banks as they don't want people to be able to see their transactions. You will get the best of both worlds for that if you have secret ledgers. I believe it is very important. The report says that 81% of big buyers said that better records on crypto could make them put more money into the gap. They turned into something else down here. What does this say? It says to speed up the rise in boon liquidity with real-time cross-border bill agreements and new virtual asset features driven by the main LL blockchain, which was built with finance in mind. Ripple offers software that is good enough for agencies. You can also work with Ripple at the Bank of Georgia. This clip was played by me, but let's play it again. The project looks good. We are still in the very early stages, but we are happy to say that we have invited a well-known Ripple group to help us with the piloting stage. They will also be advanced. But I would really like to see Georgia become a middle hall finance hub even more than I already do. A lot of countries are going to follow suit on this guy's right. They need to become a center for crypto. They can see how much money and time this is taking. Think about how smaller countries like Georgia are trying to do the same thing. There's no doubt that Ripple is getting calls all the time. It wouldn't surprise me if Ripple worked with 40 or 50 central banks at that point. It wouldn't surprise me at all. It talks about getting ahead of the game with important digital currencies used by people as banking institutions in China. Along with banks, the PBOC can also work with companies like Ripple, which uses blockchain to make cross-border transfers easier. There are too many middlemen for exchanging money in the RMB. There is also a list of friends here. I did show this in my Sensei chat earlier than I thought. These are the BIs. You already know that B is the BSEG member listing of heading. It turned out that Ripple was the best blockchain company that was asked. You have all of the, listen if you're the best blockchain infrastructure company, and you have all of this is mostly those companies that make most of the money in the field. They make things right. And if Ripple is in the same room as all of these buildings and people you think you studied, they're making the connections. I promise you Brad Garlinghouse is shaking hands with kids, kissing their fingers, and doing anything else he can to get people to notice how great the area is. Also, let's take down the rope again. Being right above does feel right. Let's find out how much more boom there is. Plus Gara and Ripple. I'm sorry. Nokram is written on it. One of Turkey's biggest banks, which the Better Business Bureau BBB says, said to offer buying and selling Bitcoin. That's interesting. We just said that this didn't work, and BBA, which is one of Turkey's biggest banks, is said to offer cryptocurrency trade services. You can't say I didn't tell you this. There's been talk about this for about 2 years. You know what's going to happen? This year, Japanese banks will deal with XRP. XRP is actually going up 10% in the last 24 hours, blah, blah. Japanese banks are about to connect to the XRP platform, which is why we need to talk about this one-of-a-kind feature, because there may be some FUD in it. But there may be some false information going around the internet right now. And I need to make it clear right away that I'm going to go into the nice of my ability. That means that 80% of Japanese banks will use XRP by 2025 Sports Changer. Her business partner on Ripple, Trangelo, doesn't like Bitcoin, which Yoshi Joshi Takatawa says doesn't have any inherent value. The fact that XRP is driven by utility calls for shows how long it can last. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please click like on the video. It really helps me out and helps the station grow. Thank you very much. Also, we have one more day of the Santa Ball. The day before, about 10 people signed up in Krypton, which was crazy. I did make it stronger by adding a link further down in the text to get 5 or 6 more signups. You get 5 days off in your first month, and it costs $25 to join our group. You don't have to worry about whether it's in all caps or not.